right, welcome y'all to another episode of the Garner Station podcast brought to you by the town of Garner. My name is Rick Mercier, and I'm the host today. And we are here again in downtown Garner at Full Bloom Cafe. And I'm happy to have with me another downtown Garner business owner, Mr. Kentrell Perry, who owns Locks, Naturals, and More Salon and Academy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll get into the Academy part later.
Yeah.
So you're pretty well known, especially folks coming downtown.
Okay.
I think you're well known in the community.
All right.
However, could you just please give yourself a little introduction to our viewers and our listeners? So.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I kind of dive in about my biography, I want to invite you to take a couple of deep breaths with me. All right. So we're going to do 3 rounds of this. All right. And so we're just going to breathe in deeply until to your apex. And then you're going to hold for 5 seconds. Release. Inhale again. Release. One more time. Yeah.
That was great. Wow. I don't know how that worked for the podcast, but that was great.
Yeah, well, before I go into a space, before I have a conversation or do any activity, I like to do a check-in, to see, am I coming with frustration? Am I coming with any anxiety, any stress? Because if I'm coming with any of those, let's say, emotions, then I'm going to be the problem. Right? A lot of times we're thinking it's everybody else, but you're going to be the issue. And so I like to do a check-in to making sure that I'm trying to come with honesty, transparency, and compassion. With that being said, I am a Raleigh native. I grew up in the zip code 27610 all my life, but I went to Garner schools all my life. I was really into sports, and there's not a better town or city than Garner when it comes to that. And so I was trying to cultivate my athleticism, and I was in Garner schools, Creech Road, East Garner Middle, Garner Senior High. I have a degree in economics from North Carolina A&T. I also have a yoga certificate. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I've been a salon owner for 10 years. And I'm always trying to cultivate conditions where clarity can happen. All right.
So tell us more about your business, about Locks, Naturals, and More, which has been located down here in downtown Garner for about a decade.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Tell us about that journey.
Well, so when we say salon, right, I think let's define that term. All right. So I would say that it's an oasis when I think of salon, right? Or a pit stop. It's a place where you can come and get refueled. A lot of times, we are always expending energy, right? And we all have all these roles that we play, yeah? Dad, mom, colleague, brother, sister, okay, all these roles that we play. But there's the actor or actress, right, that's playing these roles. And so it's important for someone to be able to come to a place where the actor or actress can refill their cup. So my salon provides services that allows a person to generate a certain, let's say, emotion or spirit, right? Let's call it pleasantness. Yeah, so we can do your hair, uh, variety of different beauty, cosmetic works, but it's really those are just actions that are providing you ability for you to relax and refill your cup so that you can run pleasantness. Yeah. Our journey here on Main Street has been, uh, yeah, a roller coaster, such as life, right? You know, moving the salon from a barbershop to Main Street, and any business relocating that holds its challenges. That was when we got here. That's when I started. That's when I had bought the business from my mother, and I started running, entrepreneurship program, right? And nobody teaches you. There's no blueprint about how to do things correctly. You have an aim, and you go through the series of steps on how to satisfy that aim, which is, providing great service, let's say. Yeah, and you learn a lot on the way. So I learned on how to interact with other business building owners. That's nobody teaches you that. So that's a whole other can of worms.
Is that different from you previously? You said you were at a barbershop location. Where was that?
So that was off of Capitol. My mother was renting a few booths from a barbershop, and a different in values, let's say. Yeah. I came back home from school, and I observed a few things that wasn't sitting well with me. And so I thought, it was important for us to be in a space that represented our values. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this space
So
in downtown
Downtown Garner.
What was it about it that kind of made you feel like this is the place?
Yeah. Well, I'm not as mature. I wasn't as mature that I am now, right? So back then it was rent. Rent was really cheap down here, and all the development hadn't taken place. So the rent, and then I also knew, let's say that Garner represented. It was unique that as long as that you provided certain values, right, or your character is a certain way, that's really all that matters. So it's not really about, let's say the color of your skin, or your economic background, and so forth. Where Garner citizens, or the culture, I believe, that we represent is, are you honest? Are you consistent? Are you focused? A variety of characteristic traits. And so that's what we care about. And so I knew that Garner represented that type of culture. And so that's why I thought it was a good fit for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you promote the business and promote? I mean, we can think about Downtown Garner and where it was 10 years ago, and it's in a much different place now. I think. I mean, not literally different place, but there's a lot more foot traffic. There's a lot more awareness that Downtown Garner exists, and you got people coming down to the cafe, to the new rec center, to your business, to the other businesses up and down Main Street. It was a little different back then, so it was a little bit more of a risk to say, this is where I want to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. 0 foot traffic. You have would be a very specific reason if you came to Downtown Garner, where now there is a variety of outlets for people to come participate in, which generates foot traffic. But 10 years ago, that was non-existent. So for us, it just always have been quality of service, right? Where I I see you as a part of me, right? So your experience is my experience, right? And so what is the experience that we all want? Well, we want to feel cared for. We want to feel loved. As long as that my clients felt that, then they go and express that to others, right? And so it all came, that's right, it all came into just word of mouth. And I think that's the same thing with any business, actually. Like, as long as that you're providing a unique experience, right? It's not like when you go to a restaurant, the food is a thing, but it's about the experience that you are. Same thing here at Full Bloom, right? That the coffee's good, but it's really the experience that we're attracted to this location. So anyway, I get really long answers, uh, but yeah, it was really about us providing a certain experience, and as long as we did that, we knew that that was the correct formula for success.
Did you like you said you had a business or a barber shop? Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur? Or is that did you? I mean, you had an economics degree. Have an economics degree. Did you know coming out of college, like I'm going to use that? I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Did you know that? And did you
Yeah.
know what you were going to go into?
Well, okay, so I believe that all families may have like a lesson, right? A major lesson that their parents, that our parents want to get across, right? And independence was always the lecture in our house, right? So I have had a job since I was 11 years old. I have always been, let's say, under the tutorage of a mentor, right? And doing something within a business, right? Um, and so, yeah, I knew that, uh, I, and naturally, I never really wanted to be told what to do. so, so I thought entrepreneurship was going to be, um, uh, the vehicle that allowed me not to be told what to do. However, yeah, but the business tells you what to do. so, but anywho, yeah. So I did know, and I always had a knack for numbers. Um, I always enjoy that it was always one answer, that it wasn't subjugated to someone's opinion, right? And like I would write a paper, and then it would, you know, have so much to do about the professor or whatever they're feeling and thinking, but this answer is correct, right? And so, right, numbers don't lie. And so with economics, I really enjoyed um, the, we're trying to predict um, an outcome. And so we're saying that, there's all these variables that affect this, dependent variable. And I really enjoy investigating, like, what are all the things that can make this happen, right? And so, um, yeah, that all of that to say that I was raised to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, and I had unique skill sets that has helped that title. Yeah.
So you say you were raised. Does that mean your parents raised you? And you said you were given jobs to do from the time you were 11. Was
Yes.
that within your parents' business, your mom or dad's business?
No, actually, my dad is the vice president of Methodist Home for Children, and so um, that's one of the largest nonprofit agencies in North Carolina. And so I was always doing things to be of service to the community. My mom had a salon, and then we just recently talked about this. I really called it, her salon was a halfway house, where she was just always providing education for women to come and learn a skill set that could better their lives. And so um, I didn't really get into hair and everything. So I started to run. I was like 13 years old. So from 13 to 15, I had like a little beat up truck, and um, these lawnmowers, and I would get the kids around the neighborhood, and we would go do landscaping and stuff. And my sister was in the hair business with my mom. And once after 2 years, I started comparing notes where my sister is in the AC, making twice as much money with pretty women all day. And I'm like, I'm in the wrong business. I'm out here with these sweaty guys trying to round them up and, do landscaping. And so, yeah, so then I started to get into doing hair. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've been doing that for a while, but you also in recent years have branched out, and you have kind of a new component to your business. Do you want to talk about that, the academy part, and the yoga and all that?
Yeah. As you can see, as I'm illuminating in my face, that, well, I realized that with the salon and, our purpose of being an oasis and people coming in, they're bringing in so much baggage, right? Like they come every 4 to 6 weeks. And so they may have only given themselves 2 hours out of 6 weeks to pour into themselves. And so once they, come to the oasis and, refuel a little bit, they will have a certain glow about them, right? But I started to, again, this is the economy. I started to accumulate data of like, well, that glow is only but so bright and it only lasts but so long, right? And so then I was like, yo, man, it gotta be, and this is for my own inner journey, that there had to be some other techniques, antidotes for myself to have a certain glow and for that to last and to radiate longer, right? And so as I started to do different practices, drinking a lot of water, going into nature, going into the sun, switching reading, opting reading for Netflix. Hopefully I'm saying that right. As I started to do different movements with my body, I started to figure out, well, this is and making me feel this way. And then me feeling this way leads me to doing certain actions. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this is an equation, right? And so I started to see through my own observations of my experiments with myself that I'm saying, oh, if you do this, 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 and this, it will equal this output, right? And okay, well, people aren't exposed to this. They don't really know that that's where they really are wanting is pleasantness within, pleasantness around, right? And so as I started to get introduced to these different techniques or I started to educate myself, a component of you doing this equation that I'm saying, you were going to want to start to give that to others by default settings. Once you start to figure out, wow, this makes me feel so good. I'm radiating and you want to give that. So your cup is running over, right? And so now you need places to put that. Okay. So, Ever Center is the educational based company. It's a nonprofit. I already had a nonprofit called Right Now Incorporated, where I was teaching at-risk youth how to do hair, and then that's morphing into what is manifesting into today. We have the after-school program that we're going to be launching. We're actually right now working on all of that, so we can launch in January. And so I would definitely make an announcement and let everybody know when are the class schedules and when we plan on taking on more members. Yeah, because it's really important. I'm glad that you are interested in wanting to come participate. And we are just in the strategic planning phase of it all. Yeah, so I definitely will let you know when you can come get some stretching. Well, that we have different programs to help people um, do their inner engineering. That's what we're calling it. And so, yes, we're going to be providing mindful movement. I don't like saying yoga because that has its own definition. So, like mindful movement, which is bringing awareness to your body and awareness to your emotions and merging those two things together. Yeah. Um, that community, that a big part of, let's say, your glow is having a certain community around you that want to participate in the very similar things, right? Fellowship, geez, man, I'm saying that because it's we have forgotten all of these things. Like it's a reason why generations before us had these certain um, activities set up, right? And so yeah, so we're going to be providing all of this types of education to the community. Yeah.
And you underwent a sort of rigorous training to feel like you were ready to be the teacher. You want to talk about that? The going out into the woods and all that stuff that
Whoa. Oh
you were
man.
sharing earlier?
Well, let's say this first, okay? That your why, right? So, and I'm going to get into, the different aspects that I had to go through for my yoga certification, but what led me to that, I was divorced. I was numbing myself in various ways. I became more nihilistic. And then that being nihilistic leads you to more undesirable experiences. And so, let's say being in a real dark place led me to seek, I just want to say a cliche, but the light. Well, let's just say more clarity. I was seeking more clarity. And so that's when I started to be seeking, you shall find, right? And so that's what started to lead me to finding more techniques that allow me to be a better manager of my body, a better manager of my emotions, a better manager of my energy, right? And so, one of the, let's say, technology, yoga is a technology, so that you can become a better manager of these three aspects, right? So, I did all of my yoga teacher training in the woods in Boone. So I did 10 days of pitching a tent and um, yeah, really starting to deprogram. That's what the biggest thing is deprogramming yourself. We're always being programmed, right? Television tells lies to your vision, yeah? And so we're constantly receiving information, right? And so, well, that's the reason why you're disorganized internally, right? Well, there's no better, let's say, antidote if you want to become more organized, right? Then going into nature, there's nothing more organized than nature, right? The
Because
plant,
it strips away a lot of the distractions.
God, it's just very a lot of distractions, but you're also like, I'll say, a tree is emitting a frequency, right? Everything is emitting a frequency, right? So think of that like food, right? So you're constantly eating something, yeah? And you can consume order, right? And so when, you're in nature, like this ant knows its job, the soil knows its job, the tree knows its job, this entire ecosystem is organized. And so the more time you spend in there, the more you become organized. And that's actually what you really want, right? You want inner organization. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go like 60 more seconds.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So, you want direction, right? You want direction, and but you have been doing a variety of different things that have been clouding your direction. Think of it like GPS, right? So, first of all, for GPS to work, you have to know where you are and know where you want to go, right? But we have been creating a lot of fogs over us. Okay. So the first part of receiving your direction is getting rid of the fog. You can do that by going to nature, eating certain foods, moving your body, and so forth. You will start to clear up the fog. And then you'll start like, oh, I actually kind of know what I want to do, right? And then you can organize your thoughts towards that direction, your emotions towards that direction, your energy towards that direction. So anyway, I'm gonna take a breath. And all I'm saying is that my yoga teacher training really helped me realize that how to organize my thoughts, my emotions, my energy towards one direction. Yeah.
And you think so? This is becoming a more interesting conversation.
Okay.
I thought we were gonna have. So,
Okay, go.
I mean, do you think that society wants to send us all in all these other directions that are not where we necessarily need to go?
100%. I mean, it's meant that way. Okay, right? Like nobody wants us to see each other as a part of each other. It's three major things. Like you are, when I look at you, right? I see, a supernova or all the magic, right? That has made you up. All the magic that has made you up. And I also can identify that magic is a part of me as well. Okay. Then I also feel responsible for that magic that you hold, such as if I see my child and that responsibility that I feel that I have for my child, right? That I want them to have all the conditions that's going to create them to have the most meaningful life possible. Okay. Now, imagine if we all felt that way. Right. Then there's certain agendas that wouldn't be able to get satisfied, right? If we all saw each other that way. So then, yes, we are bombarded with a compass that leads you outwardly and not inwardly. That's what I was thinking. Why it was so cool. I was thinking of this the other day. It was like, what is an aha? Right? Aha is like, yo, I already knew that. Yeah. Right? Like when you hear something profound or truth, right? You're like, oh yeah. I felt like I already knew that. So you already have all the answers. You are inherently a genius. When you come down here, you already have all the codes that you are a genius. You look how kids operate with themselves. Yeah. Do you have to teach them kindness? No. Do you have to teach them love? No. Do you have to teach them curiosity? No. They already have all of that. Okay, now we just forgot about all that stuff, right? Because somebody that forgot the codes is teaching you on how to forget that. Yeah. Right? So that's what awakening means, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about historical through lines.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because there's an energy to that. There's misdirection. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So I think when we had the community unity vigil in the summer of 2020, yes, at Town Hall, you had mentioned that you were the only African American property owner in Downtown Garner. Is that the case? Is that still the case?
You know what? I'm not necessarily sure. I do know that there's another building that's being up for sale. I think they're in talks, and then that person's demographic is African American. But the unique thing about, and this is one of the, let's say, messages I really want to get out. For us to, let's say African American community, that it's so important that we realize that it's about coming together to be able to do a project, right? Where a lot of times we can think like, oh, I can do it by myself. oh, I got it. Or there's a distrust factor, right? That prevents, is a firewall that prevents us from being able um, to collaborate with each other. And majority of these buildings that I've seen just here on Main Street is from not just one person, but it's a few people involved that have purchased the building, right? Even with Full Bloom, hopefully I'm misquoting this, but I believe this is the case after me talking with Patrick and so forth, that it's him and his family have came together to do this, right? With myself, it's me and my family and a variety of others coming together for, me to be able to purchase a building, right? And so that's the same case with a lot of different things. It's not just you. It takes collaboration to be able to do these things. And so we can have more African American representation of being able to be property owners, right? And we've realized that it's not just you. This idea really came to me, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. So if I help you get your credit score to, over 700, right? And now you can qualify for, let's say $250,000, right? And then let's say it's four of us that can do the same thing. And we come together. Guess what? We're millionaires as a unit, but we're too busy thinking about being a millionaire individually. Yeah. It's about, us coming together and being with a united aim and being able to manifest that aim. So, yeah, hopefully there'll be more African American property owners, but I do believe it's going to require that variable of camaraderie. Yeah.
I started to talk about those historical through lines, and right outside your shop there is a historical marker, and we tell this story, but I think that a lot of people still don't know it. The first known business owner in what is now Garner was Henry Fort.
Yeah.
A black man who was formerly enslaved and was a talented furniture and cabinet maker. Owned land, bought land here, started the first business. But for people like that, Garner doesn't exist, right? Do you ever think about how you're connected to that history, and what significance, what responsibility, what sort of feelings come with that?
God, there's so much in that question. Okay. And I'm excited to kind of investigate this line of inquiry with you. So the first part is the uniqueness of the story. So when I was for the mural, and I started to
tell us about the murals.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So this is
maybe not everyone's seen it yet.
Absolutely. So we have the DGA, Downtown Garner Association, thought it was important that African Americans or that Garner community is represented. And so a large part of that community are African Americans. Not only that, to your own submission of Henry Ford being one of those, right, members of that African American community that has contributed to Garner's greatness, that we thought that it was important to highlight who those individuals are. I kind of talk about I was just fortunate enough to have a secret library, right, of African American influencers that held certain qualities, and because I was able to read about their stories, that I believe that I can also hold these qualities. These individuals weren't taught in school, but my parents thought it vital for my education for me to understand who these people were and how they affected our lives. And so with that same spirit, I thought it was important with Downtown Garner Association. The town of Garner thought it was important as well. Our united aim in thinking that it's important for African American influencers of Garner to be represented. So we made a mural on the side of my building that represents that, so that if a kid comes down Garner, comes down Main Street and see this painting that they're asked like, who is that? And we're working on a site where we'll have a QR code and it will express, who these people are, how they contribute, why they're on there, and so forth, because it's important for there's a representation that combats the propaganda of people that look of a certain way that they don't embody these qualities, right? So to combat that, we think that the mural is a great way to represent the African American community here.
It's really beautiful. If you haven't seen it, folks, it's one more reason to come to Downtown Garner and check that out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we were at Henry Ford, right?
Yeah, and that historical through line. And, And, I think, like, you talk about the history it's taught, the history it's not taught, propaganda. Yeah. We don't always know these stories about everyone who contributed to making our community what it is. But do you ever think about your place in that history?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's two things I have to get out. Okay. So one thing is I forget the family, and please excuse me, that actually sold the land to Henry Ford.
I should know that. It's not coming to my brain right at this minute.
Yeah. And, we can probably make that information available. Definitely within the site. I really want to highlight that it also took, two people coming together, right? Right. Someone had the land, he had the money, but also, Henry had the vision, right? And there had to be someone else at that time that had the similar vision or was okay for allowing that vision to manifest, right? And especially at that time where, it was just sharecropping and ownership for that type for, a former slave wasn't a thing, right? And so someone had to give him a shot, right? To be able to manifest what he felt in his heart. Henry Ford, man, once he bought the land, then he sold the land and rented the land up to former slaves as well, right? And so then it took him, someone has to be at the table, right? So then it allowed all these other opportunities. Okay, so now if we're going to correlate that with my story, right, is and again, I'm an open book. So I didn't have all the funds, right? Like, again, my family isn't rich, right? I come from a family that has values, right? But somebody had to give me a shot. What did that look like? Well, I was able to come up with, a certain down payment, and I had a balloon payment at the end. So we did owner financing, right? Anybody know that's rare, right? For someone to say, you know what? And I was telling him, about this is the former, the Hudsons, this is the former builder owner. And I was just telling him that, I'm really trying to propel my family in a certain direction. Property ownership is vital to that trajectory. And he understood that, right? And so he gave me a chance, right? And, again, that's the point of the story that I really want to highlight, is that it takes a collaboration, that no one ever does it on their own, that, someone has to give someone a shot. And that's what that really means to me when I'm connecting those Henry Ford stories or that lineage stories and myself. Also, the second point I really want to get out is that it is really important to me, or I have a responsibility to radiate, certain qualities, right? Because a lot of times, let's say building inspectors or gentlemen of yourself or the mayor, the variety of people uh, in Garner may not be used to interacting with someone that looks like me within, a meeting about a building, right? They may be, interacting with, African American in various others ways, but in, to do a building inspection, right? I have a responsibility to hold that experience in high regard, right? Where that may affect how they're going to deal with someone after me, right? So I'm always thinking about the person that you may have to deal with, someone that looks like me after today. And so if this was a pleasant experience, right, then you may not bring some old biases into this new situation, that you'll start to believe that appearances are deceiving, that you'll start to take down the veil of, I may not be able to learn from this person or hear or see this person within a certain light because of all of my past biases, that you're open to be amazed, right? Okay. And so I take the responsibility of interacting and moving a certain way so that the next person that you get to talk to that may look like me, that you're open to the things that they have to say.
That's great. So that's, you're talking about, carrying something forward. Tell me what you want to carry forward for the business, and I know you don't just see it as a business. You talk about it as an oasis. So, carrying things forward. Where do you see things going for you? 5-10 years, whatever that time span is.
Yeah. Creating conditions that produce clarity, creating conditions that produce inner peace for people. And so I think sometimes, a lot of times we get really rigid on, oh, my future is going to look like this, and I want this to be this way, and so forth. What's interesting is that most of the time that we say, this is what I want, once we get it, you're like, damn, that's not even what I thought was going to make me feel, right? Like, how many times have we gotten the thing that we thought that we wanted, and that didn't even produce the feeling, right? And so I am open to however that needs to evolve, right? I have a certain vibe or spirit that I would like to express, that pleasantness within produces pleasantness around, right? And whatever, man, like if it's doing yoga, or if it's, doing a seminar, or if it's, me not being the front man for anything and just playing the behind the scenes things or something, however I'm instructed, I'm just kind of open to the adventure of it, right? Like, can I stay in this moment right now? This moment is amazing. I'm on here on the podcast. I get to talk to you. Like, this moment is great right now. And so if this moment is great right now, right, then more likely that I'm going to attract more moments that are associated to what I'm feeling right now.
And how about Downtown Garner? Where do you think Downtown Garner is going in another 10 years, let's say, or 5 years?
Well, again, that has to do a lot with the people, right? And what is it that we value? And that's the reason why everything I'm talking about is about, really, the undercurrent, everything I'm talking about is about our values, what you really care about, right? And highlighting what it is that you should be caring about, right? And so if the people value, camaraderie, then we're going to do more activities that express that, right? If we value seeing each other as a part of each other, then we're going to express that in a certain way, right? So, some people may say like, oh, well, yeah, we need, more living space down here. Or, oh, you know what? We need more businesses down here. And, oh, yeah, and those things are valid, right? I would love to see a few more restaurants down here, right? I think that's with some different, culture, like kind of like in Cary, there's I forget the street, but it's like 5 different types of cultures with their cuisines and stuff like that. And you go down there specifically for that, right? Why can't I think Main Street would be amazing to have something like that, right? Yeah. So, but again, where Main Street, where Garner will go right back to the individual. And that's why I think it's really important that we educate ourselves in a way for us to figure out what's actually valuable. Yeah.
Well, obviously we're going to close with just asking you if there's anything you'd like to add, but maybe one question I want to ask you, I guess in my capacity is doing promotions and marketing Garner. If you had to do a pitch to promote Garner, and could be to a prospective business owner or just someone who's thinking about moving here, like what's the best pitch we could make for Garner?
Well, that you're going to come into a community that is open. You're going to come into a community that wants to support you. You're going to come into a community that are going to see the similar characteristics of each other. That you're going to come into a community that is going to do what they say they're going to do. Jeez, I mean, that one alone, right? That you're going to be in a community that's going to do what they say they're going to do. I mean, what more could you actually want? Don't you wish your spouse would do that?
She does. Might be more on my side.
Right? Like, okay, I said I was going to take out the trash, and I did it. Right? Like, and so, with any business, right? I know a lot of times in DGA we talk about having different grants and different things to be able to support businesses. But business doesn't want to do that. That we're going to announce your presence here and try to get people to come participate within your business. Who doesn't want that? If you're just coming in here to relocate, that we have amazing schools, we have amazing sports, that we have a community that is going to look about your character, not your outer appearance. Jeez, that's rare. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good pitch.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm just appreciate your time. Appreciate the ability to be able to speak to you all today about things that I really care about. I think that it's a good beacon for anybody else that's attracted to the similar things that I'm saying. That you can go to evercenter.org to investigate more about the things that I'm talking about. That you can go to Lots Naturals and More if you need time, if you need a pit stop to refuel your tank. And then I'm just really appreciate the time to speak to you all today.
Well, it's great to have you, Kentrell, and to get to know you a little bit better after all these years.
Vice versa.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. That is this episode of Garner Station Podcast. You can look for us on the town's YouTube channel / Town of Garner, youtube.com/Town of Garner. And we also are up on the podcast platforms, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. So thanks for being with us, Kentrell. And y'all, we'll see you next time on Garner Station. Take care.